What's going on, and welcome to GNR Central, guys. We've got your news for today and this week. So the first piece of news is that Slash seemed to have upset some of his followers on social media. So it was Tom Morello. It was his birthday, and Slash posted this photo, which shows F Trump on the back of his guitar. And of course, it's going to upset people. So all Slash wrote in his birthday message was "Happy Birthday," hashtag Tom Morello, and then he signed it with his emojis and basically his parentheses and stuff to make it look like a smiling top hat. So a lot of people responded. One person responded says, "I love you, Slash, but go Trump." Another person said, "Trump 2020." Another person said, "Love Morello, but still love Trump." And then one person wrote, "High triggered megas." One guy named Pete wrote, "Such a downer. I like rock for the music, not some guy who slams politics down your throat every time he gets on stage." In which another person wrote, "Really, you had to do something political." One guy wrote, "One of the absolute worst moves a musician can do is bring up politics. When they asked Elvis about his political beliefs, he said, 'I just play music.' He was a smart man and didn't lose half of the fans with that comment." So let me know your thoughts on the comment section below. I thought it was a stupid move to post something like that because you're going to just divide the fans. So turning now to some Izzy Stradlin news. So it turns out Izzy Stradlin's yearbook from when he was going to Jefferson High School in Lafayette, Indiana, is up for sale on eBay. It was from 1979, and it features a young photo of Izzy Stradlin. Now, the asking price at the time of recording this was $350 US, which is ridiculous. I don't know who would pay for that, but I guess some people will. So the description of the item says, "Amazing, awesome, and just downright rare. An original estate find 1979 Jefferson High School, Lafayette, Indiana yearbook featuring a young Izzy Stradlin in his junior year of high school. There's two photos of him, his class photo and him skateboarding. Awesome photo. And you won't believe this, but Paul Hughey, yes, Paul Tobias from the 2001 lineup is also listed in the yearbook. However, there's no photograph. Amazing early link to Paul, the most unknown GNR member. There's no photos of Axel or Dave Lang for that matter either, and not a mention or either one of them in the index. Just Izzy skating away in his teenage years. No writing whatsoever in the yearbook, but there's some sort of early supplement that comes with it too. No related photos in it, however. Oh, the cool Corvette and Trans Am and nifty pen with red grip aren't included. There's also a standout so people don't steal photos and plaster them everywhere." So he's also got some other assorted stuff he's got listed, but I thought that was kind of interesting. There was an auction, I think, a while back, or somebody had posted that Izzy Stradlin's old car from the one that he used to drive around when he lived in Indiana was up for sale a while back. So Slash gave an interview recently to WRIF 101 in Detroit on the TV on the show The Meltdown, and he revealed why Zakk Wylde temporarily joined Guns N' Roses in 1995 and how it was really a last-ditch attempt to salvage the band. He said, "Right before I left in 1996, I think Guns N' Roses were rehearsing at this place called The Complex in Santa Monica, California, and Zakk came down. I've always been buddies with Zakk, but in a certain context of Guns N' Roses, it was some weird kind of thing. We jammed for a little bit, and then, not because of Zakk, but it just wasn't working, and pretty soon after, I was gone." So Slash admitted that Zakk Wylde was one of Guns N' Roses' desperate moves. He's saying, "Well, I think it was one of those desperate moves at the time when something needed to happen." And he said it was just a crazy idea that happened. "I think it would have been a little over the top if Zakk and myself were out there. It was cool nonetheless," he said. So we had yet another announcement from Guns N' Roses of another tour date that's been added, and this one kind of came out of the blue. So Guns N' Roses are going to be headlining the Voodoo Music and Arts Experience in New Orleans this fall. It's going to be taking place on October 25th through the 27th at City Park in New Orleans. It's going to be the 21st edition of the event, and they're going to be joined by the headlining acts Post Malone and Bach. So tickets were actually already went on sale. They went on sale on June 6th. And there's going to be over 65 bands who will perform across 4 stages, bringing fans an unforgettable Halloween weekend in New Orleans, the lineup announcement said. The other acts of note on the bill include Bring Me the Horizon, Grandson, Bass Nectar, Brandy Carlisle, The National, Interpol, Young the Giant, Glitch Mob is going to be playing, Bishop Briggs, and more. And I don't know if they've announced the full lineup yet, but I think it's kind of an interesting choice to have Guns N' Roses on what seems to be like not a very hard rock festival. So we got some Sebastian Bach news, and it looks like he's going to be touring and performing Skid Row's debut album in its entirety on tour. So the tour is going to kick off on August 29th in Nashville, Tennessee at the Mercy Lounge. Now, their self-titled album, which was also their debut album, came out in 1989, and it broke the band into the hair metal scene with, the hit songs 18 in Life, Youth Gone Wild, and I Remember You. Now, following the success of their sophomore album, Slave to the Grind, Bach would end up leaving the group in the mid-90s, but has released several solo records since then. So he put out a statement saying 30 years later, people still dig the music that we created in the garage all these years ago. And he said, in commemoration of the 30th anniversary digital deluxe release, my band is going to perform the first Skid Row record in its entirety on the road live this fall. And it's going to be fun to do something that has never been done live before. And we're looking forward to seeing all of you at this one-time event. So regarding the controversial news of notable rock bands using backing tracks in 2019 on tour, Bach made sure that he will clarify that he will not be doing the same thing, saying, "Note this concert is 100% live in every way, all real all the time and no tapes, no fakes. Come and see what a real rock band sounds like while they still exist, and we give it to you straight from the heart because that's the only way we know how. See you on the road," he affirms. So they're going to be touring all over, mostly the States, and it's going to be pretty much a 3-month-long tour or 2.5-month-long tour. And you guys can go to sebastianbach.com for tickets and the full list of tour dates. So Slash weighed in on Greta Van Fleet. He's given his opinion on the band before, and he once again voiced his support for the group, although admitting he's not a huge fan of their music in terms of actually continually listening to it. So he was being interviewed, and he was being interviewed by Guitar Interactive, and he was asked about his opinion on Greta Van Fleet, and he responded with the following statement. "Everybody keeps asking me that. I can't say that I listen to him, but I love the fact that they're sort of coming from a pure place. I have to admit the stuff I heard sounds very reminiscent of Zeppelin, and I've heard some stories about how they were raised on that. And it's all good. When they put out their next record, we'll see if they can branch away from that and become their own band. But at the same time, the fact that they're having success is opening up doors for a lot of other kids. Although there aren't a lot of newer artists out there who can compete with their predecessors, in terms of influence and popularity, Slash believes there's a new wave of rock and roll coming. He said, there's really not much else I can say because I do my thing and I'm sort of perpetually watching what's happening, what everybody else is doing," he said. "I have to admit most of the bands that are putting out records that I listen to are bands that I've known for a long time, including Alice in Chains' new record, Queens of the Stone Age, and Foo Fighters. But there's also this other thing happening, bubbling under the surface with kids right now that are going into rock and roll for what I would call the right reasons, as opposed to trying to be celebrities before they can put together 5 chords. It seems like there's a real attitude and a real hunger to do something that's got balls." So turning now to some Duff McKagan news. So he has been out promoting his new record, Tenderness. He's also out on tour with them, with his band and Shooter Jennings. And he gave an interview to WAAF in Boston. And he talked a bit about how Axl and Slash have inspired him to be a better musician. He said watching Axl prepare for a show, an hour and a half of vocal warm-ups, he says, and then he goes on stage and he just kind of, the thing comes over him. The guy couldn't phone in a gig, he couldn't do it, and he would die first. I think you have to shoot him in the head, of course. And then hour and a half warm downs, and then watching Slash play guitar all day, and then lose himself when we play shows. Sometimes he's just gone, and when he's doing his solo, I have to sometimes actually tap him on the foot like, dude, come back into the song. Oh, what? Okay, so that's what basically makes me work. He continued by saying, I don't know if I'm as talented as those guys, so I feel like I always have to work twice as hard, and I love that. So I go into my basement, and my wife knows. I go into the basement, I'm there for 6 or 7 hours. It's just where I go do my thing. Sometimes she'll come down and I'll play for her, then she'll go back. But she knows that's the time when I've got to put my work in my hours, and I love putting in my hours. So with Duff promoting his new solo record, it looks like the Seattle Mariners were having a Duff McKagan night. So I want to thank my buddy Kevin for this. They had a Duff McKagan night at T-Mobile Park. They have one coming up on June 17th. And you guys can go buy VIP tickets, which is super punk rock. And this special night apparently takes place on June 17th, like I said, 2019. And the VIP buyers tickets get a copy of Duff's new album, Tenderness, and concert tickets to Duff's show on June 16th at the Showbox in Seattle. And then apparently you might also get a meet and greet as well. So I don't know if any of you guys are baseball fans, but if you guys are fans of the Mariners, then it's just one more reason to go to the Mariners game and buy some tickets and go see Duff and support his solo tour. So turning now to some other Duff news. So his other daughter, who doesn't really get a lot of press, not Grace, who's in the Pink Slips, but May McKagan, apparently launched her own fashion line. So Duff and his daughter May were interviewed by Vogue magazine, and they talked about Tenderness and about his daughter's new fashion line. Now, there was a question about new Guns N' Roses music in the interview, and Duff said, about the GNR work ethic, I asked Duff about the various rumors, whispers, and specifically sourced studio sightings suggested that he and his bandmates may be recording new material. He said, I love it. I love that. He says, neither confirming nor denying it, saying, you asked a question? I asked it again, and Duff said, I'll tell you this, things are very positively for our band. Things are going very positively for our band, and we really love each other. And that's the coolest thing. And apparently, in the meantime, though, after touring Tenderness across the country and to Europe, the GNR Not in This Lifetime tour, already the band's lengthiest, have a couple more dates added. And he said we might have to call it something else after a while. Duff said, saying, but there might be a reason to call it something else. And that's all he would say about the new album. So that does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe. And as always, go visit gnrcentral.com for the latest GNR news. Take care.